Time once again for the Bama Online podcast. This one, a breaking news edition of the BOL pod. Travis Reier, senior analyst for BamaOnLine.com, alongside site publisher Tim Watts. And Tim, get into the month of July, and we've done these in the past, typically points to a commitment, specifically a football commitment for the Alabama Crimson Tide. That is the case once again as Alabama goes back to some familiar stomping grounds on the recruiting trail, Tim, to pick up Zabien Brown, a 6'1", 180-pound corner for Mater Dei High School out there in Santa Ana, California.
Yeah, absolutely. Alabama's going back to Cali. It's been good to them in the past. Obviously Bryce Young's the one that jumps to memory, but they've obviously had other guys, Najee Harris and many more. But, yeah, Zabien's big. I mean, when you look at it, battling USC, he's right there. Used to be kind of a USC a pipeline, back in our heyday, though, they used to get all those guys. And he took official visits to USC along with Alabama and Ohio State. And, yeah, that month of June, the table was being set. And getting a guy that, many consider top 100 in the country, borderline top 50 in the country, to go along with what they've already got committed is a really good get. Obviously, he's a talented guy. Mater Dei is almost like a miniature college. But at 6'1", 180 pounds, very aggressive guy, quick to the ball, not scared of contact, and, has those natural instincts you like to see when that ball's in the air.
Absolutely. Brown, on the heels of Alabama recently picking up Jameer Grimsley out of Tampa, Florida. Brown, like Grimsley, another four-star talent. And when I watched Brown on tape, Tim, coming from an elite program like Mater Dei and going against the competition that he does, I guess polished is a descriptive that shouldn't come as a surprise. He's really effective into the boundary, art of the field. He runs routes for some of those wide receivers on some of those clips, and seems like he thrives in man coverage, a staple of the position at Alabama under Nick Saban.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, playing off the ball a little bit, closing that space. And, you felt like when you watched him, there's a little bit of cat and mouse there. A guy, quite often you see those top cornerbacks don't get a lot of passes thrown that way. So I feel like he was laying off a little bit, trying to get a pass, in his vicinity to his man so he could break on the ball. And once again, that trait of those guys at Mater Dei, when they pick off a pass, it turns instant offense. They flip the field. They're a wide receiver, running back out there. But again, like you said, big size, not scared of contact, and his cover skills. I mean, like you said, he's going to be polished. He's going to be well trained. Also, those California kids, between 7-on-7 and personal trainers, a lot of them really are, advanced coming in technique-wise when they hit the college trail. But yeah, like you said, add him to Jameer was a big get. And of course, Jalen Mbakwe, who, some people forget committed so early, possibly, to me, he's the number one athlete cornerback in the country. As a corner, he's definitely going to be one of those top 2 or 3 guys. You're not going to find a guy physically more imposing. He's a 5-star. So when you put him together with, put Zabien together with Jalen and Jameer, I mean, that's a lot of what you're looking for at that cornerback position. Last year was pretty safety heavy. I felt like this year was more cornerback kind of mix and match because, but the way recruiting is, it's hard to go back to back in any position with great classes.
Brown, as you said, just kind of old soul when you watch him on tape. Kind of baits quarterbacks into some things. It looks like good ball skills, understands leverage, both in coverage and as a tackler. Didn't see much of him in the way of the sub-package roles on tape, but he projects as a guy who could certainly work at that star position too, Tim. As we've talked about many times, versatility, a big part of what Alabama and programs like Alabama look for. And I guess from a speed perspective, kind of checking out, this is a 100-meter guy in high school track. Maybe not a lot in the way of sub 11 seconds in the 100-meter, but again, plenty enough speed to hang in there at the corner position.
Yeah, we knew cornerback was going to be a priority. So you go in, when you prioritize a position and you get a 5-star and 2 other top 100 caliber overall players, I mean, you're not going to do much better than that at the cornerback position, especially when they're kind of fighting each other. It's kind of top cornerbacks are kind of similar. You don't really see them packaged together. Going back to a guy like Pat Surtain and Tyson Campbell, you kind of see them all go in different directions and find their spots. So again, last year's class, extremely safety heavy, obviously led with, Caleb Downs, and then you added Hurley, Tony Mitchell, and Brayson Hubbard. So you went pretty heavy in the safety department. Then you come out this year, you go, you're looking for those corners, and I would say they've certainly hit a home run with what they wanted to get.
Seems like it's been a summer of runs in kind of watching other programs around the SEC and nationally. We've seen it with Georgia. Florida had a hell of a run in the last month or so. Is this kind of where Alabama's at now, or is this something where it's just going to be kind of this steady progression as we move through the rest of the summer and then into the season itself?
Well, when you have that, that June is now, what it used to be in December and January with all the official visits, all the kids, they are now able to get an educated view of where they want to go to college before their senior season. It was a little bit harder back in the past before they could take the official visit. It was mostly unofficial and probably difficult to get places. So yeah, Alabama set the table in June, and man, it was a busy, all the way through that last weekend, which was bananas. They had 10 official visitors, I believe it was, 7 on a 7 tournament, and OLDL camp that same weekend. So took a little bit of vacation after setting the table, and now you're going to see guys start to drift. Grimsley was probably, the first one on 7-1, but you've got a lot of other guys that are looking at Alabama that are going to be making their decision coming up.
You talked about this corner group now that Alabama has put together. Grimsley, 6'2", 180, like his length. This is a guy in high school. His tape really stands out because he's as impressive as a wide receiver as he is even a corner. And he's very impressive on both sides of the football. Mbakwe, just elite physical attributes. And then a guy like Brown, who is very talented in his own right, but as we kind of outlined, a savviness to him, I guess you could say, as a corner. It looks like we're in the neighborhood of 6 foot plus, and then you go from there.
Yeah, a little bit of the mixture too. When you look at Jameer, I know he's 6'2", so he's got legitimate length, but he looks 6'7". I mean, he's got a lot of length now. Very, very long prospects. You got that guy's got a little bit of position flexibility. You look at Zabien, who's probably just a pure corner. And then, again, Jalen's an athlete at a level probably pretty much is the highest level you can get. So you get a mixture with these three guys where you've got polished, potential, upside. Everybody's got length. Everybody got size and exceptional upside ability with all three of these guys. So I know that T-Rob's extremely happy. And, I think this is, again, that goes back to Alabama recruits well in the secondary. But, again, Nick Saban, does a great job of selling the cornerbacks or the secondary. T-Rob is definitely, of course, heavily involved in there. This was Holman Wiggins area, so he's a native of California, so he kind of paved the way. But T-Rob's very hands-on with his guys in the secondary, and, of course, so is Nick Saban.
Yeah, just in terms of body types and watching these guys, Grimsley has that body type kind of like a Patrick Surtain. That length and that size. Mbakwe kind of reminds me a little bit of Kool-Aid from that perspective. And then Zabien Brown looks a little bit physically like a Brian Branch. I'm just throwing out body type comps, Tim. We're not projecting here, right? We don't want to do that. So
yeah, it's hard to project, but you're right. That's usually the way you start. You kind of get a feel for what the guy kind of reminds you of, and then you kind of try to go from there. I mean, obviously the playing ability, the development, all that's going to show down the road. But I think as far as this class goes, when you circled like top areas of concern, not so much the whole position group, but certain positions, interior offensive lineman, which I think they're going to do a good job there. Cornerback, I think they're going to do a good job there. So both of those stood out. So they really hit a home run here.
There you go. This Alabama recruiting effort for the 2020 cycle continues on the commitment front. We're going to have it all covered for you right there. I'm Tim Watts, Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings on the recruiting front, second to none when it comes to getting the job done in recruiting coverage. And of course, from the team perspective, you got Clint Lamb, you got Jimmy Stein, you got Charlie Potter, you got myself. Looking forward to keeping you up to speed on all things Crimson Tide right there at BamaOnLine.com. And of course, the Bama Online podcast, a good place to check out as well. the roundtable with us right there at BamaOnLine.com, the premium message board of choice for fans, Alabama fans around the globe. Post up with us there at the roundtable. And Tim, I get the feeling we're going to be doing a few more of these.
Yeah, this might be a busy month for Tim and Travis. Reunited, and it feels so good. So,
Peaches and herb.
Hey,
you know,
absolutely.
I'm really dating us now, Tim. Oof. But,
Yeah.
hey, good stuff, Tim. Big pickup for Alabama. And again, we'll be catching up here real soon. So for Tim Watts, Travis Reier, thanking you for joining us right here on this breaking news edition of the Bama Online podcast. Is Zabien Brown, 4-star corner, Santa Ana, California, commits to the Crimson Tide. Until next time, so long, everybody.